Hello, this is a Bluthner baby grand piano, 151 centimetres long, about 5 foot long, and just come into stock and want to see if there's any work we can do to improve the piano and to appreciate it as well. First of all, we can see this little nick here. Our polisher hasn't been over the piano yet to see what work he can do to improve it, but small scuffs and things like that can certainly be improved and almost eradicated. So you can see a few here, so he's going to be going over this, but the colour is pretty much integral. There's not much fading, although there's a slight difference in colour if you look here from here, but so I don't think it's too much to detract. It's a beautiful piece of furniture, and we have sold quite a number of these, I think at least 20, very similar looking pianos with this flamed mahogany is often called, fiddleback sometimes, but I think it's more flamed mahogany. And look at the top, it's been repolished at some stage and beautifully done. Our polisher is going to body it up and just improve it. I think here you can see a very slight fade line, and that'll be disguised as well. So casework wise, very grateful for getting it in this condition. We do repolish them, obviously, but it can be repolished. Here is a bit duller, so I think you can body that up and make it look less dull, so that shouldn't be a problem. If you do want us to repolish the whole piano, it takes 70 hours, so it's a lot of work and does add a lot to the price. So we're trying to obviously provide the pianos as economically as possible. Obviously you have to choose the ones that are not too worn and are in good condition already. Now the key tops are original ivory and in extremely good condition. They do need buffing though. They're a bit dull, and they will attract dirt if they're not buffed, so that's something we need to do. And the sides of the sharps, you can see how much the piano has been used. So it has been used, but it's been regulated and worked on in the past. We'll have a look at the action in a minute. Now looking at the inside of the piano, is in extremely good condition. Tuning pins are tight. That's the first thing we check, really, is really important. Our soundboard is in perfect condition, and the frame is very good as well. It's not perfect, as you can see, but it doesn't need refinishing, I don't think. Obviously we can redo the whole piano. We can do anything that you want us to do. We do sometimes fully restore these, but usually try and source them so that they're not going to be too expensive, and obviously providing top quality pianos at a good price. The dampers aren't quite lifting off as high as I'd like them to, but nearly. That's just minor regulation. Let's have a look at how close the hammers get to the string when they... Well, that's good. It has been regulated in the past. I think perhaps a bit more aftertouch. That's to do with the key dip. I think if we can increase the key dip slightly, it's about 10 millimeters down, and about 10.5 would give us a little bit more aftertouch. Aftertouch is where after you've played the note, it checks back. It does check back, but it could do with just a slight more, and it does reach as far as we can. I think it's well regulated, otherwise the let off is almost perfect, so that's encouraging. And looking at the spring, if we take my finger off the key a bit, does it go up? No, it doesn't, so the springs need regulating too. Now looking at the action, it has been worked on in the past, and new action standards have been fitted, so that's quite common that you get metal fatigue on Bluthner, small Bluthner grand pianos, and these are supplied by the piano suppliers quite regularly, so we often fit new action standards. Don't always need redoing, but if they do, then also you end up doing these rods here that connect to the hammer rail, and they were a bit loose. I've tightened them up already, and if they are loose they can cause a bit of a rattle, so that's important that they're tight. I mentioned the springs earlier, so if we look at some springs, let's look at an end one here which you can see quite well. If we look at this hammer, and I lift it up, it checks, and if I lift my finger off the key, then it should go up, and it doesn't really go up very, very significantly. Just over the years it just wears slightly, so what I'm doing when I lift my finger off the key is I'm releasing the back check here, so it lets the hammer go up. Let's have a look at that again. So lifting my finger off the key, it should go up a little bit more positively than that. So looking at that again, if I let it check and then lift my finger off the key, it does go up, but not as positively as I'd like it to, and over the years it'll wear slightly more. If the spring is too weak, then it doesn't work at all. So if I turn this screw anti-clockwise, I can disable the spring completely, so it doesn't work, and you'll see what happens to the hammer. So if I play the key now, sorry, it's that one, it goes down, and it goes too far down, and then we can't play it a second time because the jack doesn't come underneath. So looking at this model of a grand piano, the jack needs to go back underneath the roller here in order for it to work again. So as it comes out, the spring allows it to go back under. So if I detension this screw, I've taken it quite a long way, and if we watch the jack now, it doesn't come under properly and it just slips like that. So you've got to put tension in that spring in order to pull it back under. It's very weak. So now I've retensioned the spring, and as we check it, we see that the hammer goes slightly upwards, and that's what we want. We want the hammer to go upwards positively, not so that it hits the string again, but just so that it's pretty positive, and that will last, and the spring will be tense for enough tension for several years to come. And the jack's going under nicely now. So if we add tension, maybe a quarter of a turn or half a turn, let's see what happens now. And it checks, and it's left my finger off. It comes back up positively, but it's a bit too positive, and it's making a bit of noise there as well, so a bit less than that. So I've taken it back about half a turn, and let's look at it now. So that's nice and positive, and you can't hear any noise either, so that's exactly as we want it. So I've regulated middle C as well, about half a turn on that screw. That's all it needed really. Not all actions have these screws. It's very useful when they do. Bechstein normally do, and Bluthner do on this style. They don't always have this style though. Now the hammers have been refaced when it was reconditioned, and you can see a slightly woolliness to them, but it's a job well done, and the tone is good. There's plenty of hammer left. They've taken off a couple of millimetres possibly, and so there's plenty left. And at the top end, which is obviously very important, they get a bit thinner, but there's plenty of felt left there as well. So the piano has been restored in the past, and new action standards fitted. The same family for 2 generations apparently, and well looked after. The weighting of the keys, we do need to lubricate the balance rail. We've talked about that many times. The key weighting is a bit on the high side, 61. We want to bring that down by to about 50, and that's 57 down to about 50 or even slightly less. And just lubricating the balance rail will do that, I think, or mostly do that. If you pull the key up on the piano and it stays up, and then you need to lubricate the balance rail. That's a common sign. By the way, if you lift the ivory up, don't lift it from the front, it might come off. Lift it from the side, and you can see they're all staying up, so that will definitely very much improve the weighting of the keys. And we may need to just regulate them after that as well. And pitch raising, it's very flat, so I suspect it's just not been tuned for a very long time. You can see A should be 440. It's about 4.3. 434, just under 434. I put 432 on here. Don't know why I put it that low, but it should be 440, and it's about 434. So I would imagine maybe that's 20 years without being tuned. That's how long it will take to get down to that pitch, or maybe between 15 and 20 years. But the octaves are in tune with each other. The whole piano is in tune with itself. That's because it's a very stable piano. It's been kept in a good environment too. It's been allowed to drop in pitch because it hasn't been tuned regularly. It is also possible that the tuner hasn't bothered to maintain it at pitch. If you want to play with other instruments though, you do need to be at concert pitch, and it will liven up the tone as well when it's raised. So that's a Bluthner Style 4 grand piano, 5 foot long, 1933. It's one that we're always trying to source. There's certainly a lot of interest in these small grand pianos. They're some of the best baby grand pianos that there ever made really, and as I say, we've sold quite a few of them, and try to source as many as we can. It's a standard finish on the piano, and just a beautiful mellow sound that they have. Ideal domestic piano. If you're interested, please do write to us, info@robertspianos.com, and let us know what you'd like to do. If you can't come in and you'd like to rent the piano to try it out, that's something we offer as well. So from past experience, it probably won't stay in stock for very long. I'm enthusiastic about the piano. We need to do bits of regulation just to improve it a bit. The keys need buffing, but not a huge amount because someone has done a lot of work previously. Thank you very much for listening.